Will everybody signed so far and ready to go except Mauricio Dubon? And does that mean a smooth arbitration for Kyle Tucker means that he'll sign with the team in the future? We're going to talk about this on this edition of Locked On Astros.
Welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You find me on X at Eric Talkstros. Find the show at Locked On Astros. Your team every day. Brett, where can you find you before the Texans take the field on Saturday?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Stros411 on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
Guys, today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. And guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out the Locked On Astros podcast. We do appreciate you becoming everydayers, people that listen to the podcast every day. So it's been kind of a slow off season so far, not much happening, but right now we do have some news about the Astros. We do have some we want to give you some updates on what's going on with Jordan Hicks. We did hear a kind of a little bit of news on that. MLB Network said the top 10 starting pitchers now and top 10 starting catchers now, and 2 Astros on the list. Bregman, MLB.com gave a Bregman update today, and Billy Wagner, how he's doing in a Hall of Fame vote. So a lot for us to discuss on this edition of Locked On Astros podcast. Brett, I was sweating out the whole Framber Valdez thing. That went to the last minute. I know the deadline was technically 7 p.m. Central Time, but it felt like we were all waiting to see if Framber Valdez was. I think 4 of the guys were kind of settled earlier, but Kyle Tucker, I think, happened around 6:30, maybe 6:12, something like that. But then finally, the news came out about Framber Valdez avoiding arbitration, which is big news.
No, yeah, that's a good thing, because I actually spoke with Mike Stanton about this in the offseason here about a month ago, and we talked about the arbitration process. And he basically said what it is it's the club sitting down telling you why you're not worth the money you think you're worth. And no matter who you are as a player, they basically try to tell you you're not worth that. And so anytime you're able to not have a negative exchange, when you're not having to deal with what they dealt with last year with Corbin Burns, basically being told by the Brewers, well, the reason why we lost in the playoffs was your fault, basically. And those were his words, not mine. It's good. I think a smooth transition through this process of avoiding arbitration avoids a lot of things to be said, feelings to be hurt, things to kind of get mixed up with the real negotiations where these players are aiming. Kyle Tucker looking for an extension. Framber Valdez, is he going to get an extension? But does this mean that all these guys will be Astros long term? I don't know. I don't know what that means, but I do know that it can't hurt the process going forward, especially with someone like Kyle Tucker. If you're wanting to lock him up, and I've said all along, he is the player that I would lock up long term. If I had to choose him, Bregman, or Framber, I would go Kyle Tucker first.
Yes. And in Dana Brown, we trust, I guess. He got the Astros underneath the luxury tax threshold for now. I know that there's some rumors out there. We'll talk about Jordan Hicks in a little bit, but a lot of people were saying that the Astros were going to be over the luxury tax threshold. So before today, Roster Resources and Spotrac had the Astros spending $38.5 million. Spotrac had him spending $39.7 million on all these arbitration guys. And so the Astros today spent $34.325 million on these. The 5 players the 6 players it was 5 players they agreed to today. So they saved some money, and they also save some money. So right now, I know the luxury tax threshold is not that doesn't really matter until the end of the season.
Right.
But right now, the threshold is 237 million. The Astros now sit 675,000 below it. That is depending on what happens with Mauricio Dubon. We'll talk about the process in a second, but this is big news. So let's go ahead and kind of discuss what happened today, what the projections were, and what the players got, and if you're actually surprised or not. So let's start with Framber Valdez. He was expected to get 12.1 million by MLB trade rumors. He got 12.1 million. So are you surprised?
Am I surprised that okay, what was the projected on him?
Exactly what he got.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a good thing. I mean, look, I think it's good whenever you can avoid arbitration with any player, you know. So yeah, I like it.
Kyle Tucker was supposed to get 12.6 million. He got 12 million. So they saved 0.6 million there.
And you know, just to remind y'all, someone had made the mention on X. Oh, so I guess this definitely means that if they decide that contract extension before the season starts is impossible. Actually, no, they just basically tear this up and they start anew, or they roll this into
they roll it into
new. So it doesn't mean that they can't negotiate. But what this does mean is they've settled on a price, and going forward, they don't have anything else bogging them down and bringing them down. But actually, Eric, it was 6. You were right at first. You said 6 and switched to 5. It's actually 6 players because Framber, Tucker, Urquidy, McCormick, Garcia, Abreu. So it is the 6. Yeah. So I just wanted to, because if they get Mauricio Dubon in there, he'll be the 7th player, and that will be all 7 of their guys that they had up.
Okay, one of the few players, I think the only player who actually made more than projected was Jose Urquidy. He was expected to make 3.5 million. He made 3.75 million. So I know that he's missed a lot of time. He missed a lot of time last year, but he is a dependable starter. So I think that the Astros want to make sure he's happy, and I think that they wanted to just avoid arbitration with him.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, he is your guy that is, like you said, dependable. Not just dependable, he's dependable in the playoffs. And he's proven himself every time. And he's going to have a full season under his belt. Give him a couple 100,000 more. Give him, you know, some extra pennies, you know, in his pocket so that he can feel appreciated. Maybe down the road, if they do decide to sign him and he doesn't get traded, maybe he'll sign a team-friendly deal. I mean, a little bit goes a long way here, I think.
Yeah, Luis Garcia, who missed most of the last season with Tommy John surgery, he's making. He was projected to make 2.1 million. He settled for 1.875 million. So that's a big discount. I don't know if him missing most of the season, he took that consideration, or you don't know if the Astros were just penny pinching here, just saying, "Hey, this is as much as we can give you right now. Next year, we got you, but this year, this is as much as we can get you."
Yeah, definitely. And look, all these guys getting these deals done. You're getting Kyle Tucker for 12 million this year is just mind blowing. Getting McCormick for 2.85. He was a top 10 center fielder last year. Getting these guys where they're at right now, how well they're performing, I think is just icing on the cake.
Yes. So I know some of y'all are asking about Mauricio Dubon's salary. We'll look at that in a second once we get to Mauricio Dubon. But moving on to Bryan Abreu, he is one future closer for Houston Astros. He was projected to make $2 million. Granted, these are not exact numbers; these are just projections by MLB trade rumors. He actually made $1.75 million for the 2024 season.
Well, and you know, I think too, with Bryan Abreu, if that's a projection and not what he's asking, it's a lot different ball game you're talking about.
Right.
If you're going arbitration, you pay him less. I think it hurts the club more. But Brian Abreu, I think, loves this club. I think he loves the guys that are around him. And as long as they keep a lot of these core guys in that bullpen, you'll see Brian Abreu, I think, slide into that closer role whenever Presley's time is up, because Presley is a little bit longer in the tooth. Actually, he's a lot longer in the tooth than, Brian Abreu. And I think Brian Abreu will be an Astro for a long time.
Yeah, I agree with you. So we still got to talk about, of course, Mauricio Dubon. We still got to talk about the guy who I think is a big boy. We'll see if he's a big boy this year. So we'll definitely have to talk about that. But we're going to talk about game time in a second and where's the best place to get all your tickets.
Yeah, that's right. This episode is brought to you by GameTime. I can tell you from personal experience that GameTime is the place to go. It's hassle-free. It's easy to use. And I'm giving you my full-on recommendation. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. And it's not just baseball games. It's football games. It's basketball games. It's theater. It's comedy. It's really wherever you want to go in the city of Houston. You go to the GameTime app. It's real simple. You download the app. They have last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, easy to find. Views from your seat so you know what you're getting, lowest price guaranteed, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. You don't have to gone are the days of buying months in advance. Oh, the tickets just went on sale. No, wait, get them from GameTime. I mean, I went to the Final Four when it was here in Houston on GameTime 30 minutes before the game started, and I got a pretty darn good deal. Every one of my Texans tickets that I bought this year, I bought them on GameTime. Phenomenal place to go. It is the amazing. They got zone deals. They basically pick the seat location for you. Now, here's the deal. If you go to another site and you find a ticket in the same section and row for less, let them know. They will credit your account 110% the difference. So download the GameTime app today. Create your account. Use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off on your first purchase. Terms do apply. Create the account. Redeem the code LOCKEDON locked on for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Hey guys, make the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify. But go and make your second listen the Locked On Sports Today podcast. It's not just one podcast. It's a whole bunch of podcasts. It's all the sports news you need to today, streaming 24/7. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts and national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports streaming 24/7 channel. All right. So, Brett, we're talking before the break about I need to do this real quick. Oops. But we were talking before the break about big boy, Chas McCormick. And so Chas McCormick is going to get uptick in playing time, and he definitely got a uptick in his playing in his money this year. He was projected to make $3.1 million, but he actually made $2.85 million. So that's what he settled with the Astros today. So he took a little bit less to I think a lot of these players probably took a little bit less to maybe make things work for this year. I know that times are a little bit tough. They're trying to stay underneath that luxury tax threshold, but I think the Astros know what's in store. They know that the window could potentially be closing within the next couple of years. They want to capitalize on their opportunity to win now. And they know that there's players out there that can help them, like Jordan Hicks. We'll talk about him in a second. But what are your thoughts about Chas McCormick?
So Chas McCormick last year ended 10th. Is he 10th on this list right now?
What?
Is he top 10 right now?
We're not doing that right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. You just mean his role on the team. You just mean
I'm talking about his arbitration.
Okay, I'm sorry. You said that, and then when I looked at what we were talking about, I saw the top 10 now, and that's for another player. I'm sorry. I was thinking I was putting two things together. That is on me. Chas McCormick, I mean, this is a good deal for the Astros. He's not going to get any more than they offer him. He's a team player. I think Chas is going to be focused on doing well this year in left field primarily, and he's probably going to have another really good offensive year. I think if this guy hits 20 plus home runs again, Eric, if he makes contributions in the outfield, maybe in left field, his arm's more effective, because we know it's not that great in center field. He doesn't exactly have a cannon out there. Our center fielders, none of them really have great arms. They have average or serviceable arms. I know Myers' defense is more elite than the others, but Chas McCormick goes out there and I think balls this year and plays a key role, because this lineup is stacked from top to bottom. I mean, your weak link is Myers and Dubon being in center field. If they're the ones patrolling that, Myers being the weakest link, your catcher is going to be hitting the crap out of the ball. Abreu is going to have a better season. Pena, I anticipate, is going to have a better season. So I think it's a good year for McCormick to really prove himself. And if he does, he goes out there and probably goes to arbitration, because he's probably going to be wanting more for his work, and he's still under team control. But right, he can do that. He can up the game next year big time with follow up a good season with another good season.
All right. So Mauricio Dubon, the Astros would not have been where they were last year without him. He stepped in for Jose Altuve. He became this very critical person. He had an OPS plus of 97, almost average major league player, but he had a WAR 2.7. But he was a all-around good player, 10 home runs, 7 stolen bases. He did his job for the Houston Astros last year. No matter what position was, shortstop, second base, outfield, wherever you needed him, he was there. So the Astros and him did not agree or settle on any type of salary for this. Last year, he made $1.4 million. So this year, it was projected that he was going to make about $3.1 million. So the Astros and him could not agree on anything like that. So let's just, what's going to happen is sometime in February, they're going to go in front of a arbitration panel, and they're going to exchange numbers. The Astros are going to say, we think Mauricio Dubon is this. And Mauricio Dubon, it says, I'm worth this. So the arbitration panel is going to listen to what both sides have to say, and they're going to pick one or the other. They're not going to, it's not going to be, oh, let's just meet in the middle. That's what all these other players did. They just met in the middle. But these two sides must have been too far apart. So what they're going to do is that they're going to basically put their their money in somebody else's hands. And right, so this could backfire for the Astros.
Well, I mean, I think it more backfires for the players simply because of this. Because if you look at what's going on, with the team's going to present the case to the arbiter. We don't believe he's worth that much. And Mauricio Dubon's going to be like, I just got nominated for 2 Gold Gloves. This is why I'm asking for this much. Right.
Yeah.
And but like Mike Stanton said, it's a business. And at the end of the day, you think the club has your back until you go into this arbitration hearing. And then you find out all the things that are wrong with your game. He shared this story when he went from Atlanta to Boston. He pitched a year. He was solid. Well, the next year he came up and it was an arbitration case. And they were basically saying, he's a specialty guy. He's just in there for lefties. And he's like, I had the most saves on the team last year. Y'all literally signed me away from Atlanta, paid me more. And now you're telling me I'm not a closer. I mean, he said it's a brutal process. And so Mauricio Dubon's going to have to listen to this, and players learn how to take it. But I don't think this is unexpected with the amount of success that he's had, because Eric, he really came off of being kind of a role player. He's the guy that smiles. Everybody loves him in San Francisco too. He finally got a chance to find his niche, to find a groove, to play, to hit. He became all-star caliber type player. Probably should have been on the all-star roster. This guy, 2 Gold Gloves. Utility and shortstop that he got nominated for, or utility? Was it shortstop?
It was utility and second base, I think.
Okay, something. It was, anyways, 2 positions. Okay, two Gold Gloves, and so that is really, really cool. So, yeah, I mean, this is probably, I don't see how it doesn't go Mauricio Dubon's way, to be honest with you, because he's got the numbers and he's got the awards to back it up.
Yes. So there's this name that keeps on popping up for the Houston Astros. So when there's always this much smoke, there's got to be some type of fire.
Gotta be.
So we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about some guy named Hicks in a second. And then we're going to go and talk about the MLB top 10 now catchers and pitchers, who was on that list. And then we'll go and take a look at Billy Wagner. What's going on with him in terms of his Hall of Fame destiny?
That's right. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. When I say number one, I mean numero uno. That's right. The regular season is over, and we have the playoffs. In Houston, we have a game versus the Cleveland Browns. Okay. The Browns are favored. The Texans are the underdogs. 46.5 is the line. And let me tell you, this is serious. If you have been thinking about getting involved, well, you need to stop thinking and put thought to action and do this. So right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's right, $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use. There are so many different ways to bet, like live same game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. Make it like you're walking into the end zone with CJ Stroud carrying the ball and the Texans to a touchdown. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Guys, we appreciate you watching Locked On Astros podcast. Thank you for all the compliments in the chat. But go ahead and check out Locked On Sports Today. It's the first ever national streaming 24/7 YouTube channel out there. It has all the sports out there, all the different sports out there, all different cities, everything that you can want. All the local experts have Locked On, plus our national shows covering all the different sports. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, so Brett, let's go ahead and talk about Jordan Hicks. So John Morosi on Baseball Network was talking about Jordan Hicks again and saying that the Astros and the Yankees, among other teams, have been interested in signing Jordan Hicks. So Jordan Hicks is going to cost some money, but if you're going to go over the luxury tax threshold, like you said, you might as well go over with the bang and go ahead and get some players that you need. Jordan Hicks would be a great asset to the bullpen. If you cannot bring back Ryan Presley, he's a guy that you can sign for maybe 3 years and maybe be the closer. I know Brian Abreu is kind of the closer of the future, but he's just another option there. I know he probably would like to go to a team where he can close, but at the same time, he also probably wants to go to a team that has a chance of going to the World Series. That's probably the Astros, maybe the Yankees, if they would do something besides getting Soto, some guy named Soto. By the way, did you see that Soto got a record high $31.5 million in arbitration? This is higher than Shohei Ohtani got last year of $30 million. So he's got some money.
He does have some money. So back on December 26th, I had tweeted out that the Astros were still interested in both Neris and Hicks. And the hangup was actually the reported years and amount that the Astros were being told that these players both wanted. Okay. Fast forward to what you're talking about with Morosi saying this, they're still talking to him. I haven't heard that they've come off Neris either. There hasn't been as much talk about Neris nationally, but I'm pretty sure the Astros are still talking to him. I think if there's if I were to say who's more realistic to sign Neris or Hicks, I think Neris would be easier because you know him, you have a relationship with him, you can probably talk him down. Hicks, again, it is the length of contract and it is the years. People say, well, and I would think that maybe they're shy of a 3-year deal because of the Montero deal. And some people say, well, maybe Hicks is kind of a risk too at 3 years. But I think Hicks and Neris are less of a risk. I would just go straight back to Neris and say, look, we'll give you 3 years. But you've got to absolutely like ball out. Like we can't have, I mean, this has got to be a commitment on your part. You've been a big part of our success. In a perfect world, you get Hicks and Aries, and
just go all out.
You've won the World Series. But
right.
Jordan Hicks could come here. If the Yankees are looking at him, maybe that's more desirable. They're trying to stack the deck like the Dodgers. But I think it's a possibility. Until he signs with somebody else, there's always a chance, right? There's always a chance.
Yes. So let's go ahead and move on to the MLB Network's top 10 catchers now. Diaz is number 8 on that list. So thank you, Dusty Baker, for helping Diaz become the catcher that he is. He led all MLB catchers last year with a .50, 538 slugging percentage last season, minimum 258 plate appearances. So,
okay, Eric, I'm thinking you said that sarcastically because of the wet-eating grin on your face when you said that. There's no way you're giving Dusty Baker credit for him being top 10. I think that's 100% Mr. Diaz. That had nothing to do. Can you imagine if he played a majority of this season and won Rookie of the Year? He'd be number 4, number 5.
Well, he did play a majority, but I get what you mean as catcher.
I think he's better than Cal Riley. I think he can be up there with Rim Uto. I think he can be up there with Adley Rutschman. I mean, I don't think that's a hot take. I mean, you can't tell me that this kid hasn't done enough to prove that he is here and he's ready for the job. Now, we haven't seen him for a full season. We're going to see what he does. What kind of wear and tear on his body does that take? Even though I think he's a younger player, I think he survives that. But he's going to get a chance to prove himself as a game caller, as a strategist, as a guy who throws out runners at a lot higher clip than we've seen in Houston in a long, long time. I'm excited. I'm calling this the year of Yiner 2024. I'm just saying, mark your calendars, people. The year of Yiner is going to happen.
Yeah, I believe we've said that on a couple of podcasts. But MLB Network, if you really want to piss off a lot of your viewers, go ahead and make Justin Verlander your number 4 starting pitcher right now. Because I was looking at some of the comments and they're like, Verlander? Which Verlander? 5 years ago, Justin Verlander, 2017 versus Justin Verlander. Everybody's just like, why is Verlander even on this list? And yes, he had a down year last year, but this guy is still an ace. And as I was looking through Justin Verlander stuff, there's this actress, Jennifer Lawrence. She was at the Golden Globes the other day, and the camera went to her, and she was like, "If I don't win, I'm out of here." And basically, they had somebody said that this was Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander when they signed with the Mets. If we don't win, we're out of here.
Okay, now I get now I, for some reason, when I saw it, I guess I scrolled past it too fast. I didn't get it at first, but that makes perfect sense. That's a great real world analogy there.
Yeah, so 4th best pitcher in the league going into 2024. So I know a lot of people will be like, why is Framber Valdez not on this list? He struggled a little bit last year in the second half. I think he's going to have to earn his cred a little bit back a little bit, but I think he can. And I think maybe having Justin Verlander for a full season will help. And something that we haven't really discussed, do you think there's a possibility that when the Astros went back and traded for Verlander, if that kind of took maybe affected Valdez a little bit mentally? I'm the guy. I'm the top guy.
Okay,
now I'm not the top guy.
Yes, I 100%. Let me just say this. I know it affected him. Okay. I can't tell you how I know it, but I know for a fact that it did affect him. This last year, just some people that I've talked to have said whenever Verlander came back, because he had embraced that ace role.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's a slight against Verlander as much as it was a shot at his confidence. And we know the we know the mental side of his game, LaGrassa, and now, but he's got the ego, but he's always been a little unstable when it comes to adversity on the mound. He got the sports psychologist. He flipped things around. He had that famous game in the 2020 ALCS against the Rays where Carlos Correa put his finger in his chest and telling him like, blah, 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 Mouty's getting in his face. This year is a defining moment for the rest of Framber's career, because if Framber comes out and deals like an absolute ace, he's going to cement himself a legacy in baseball and sign a very fat contract. If he does not, it's going to affect his earning potential going forward, because he will be seen as the guy, yes, the first left-hander to throw a no-hitter in Astros history. Yes, he pitched the Game 6 clinching World Series game. You can't take that from him. You can't take away his great moments, but you have to look at the pitcher as a whole. If I, as a team, I'm going to sign him to a long-term deal, I've got to know that my pitcher can mentally hang on. Right. I know you got great stuff. I've seen it. I've heard the Mike Trout quote. I've heard the players in the league. I've heard the scouts talk about it, but I need to know that from game 1 to game 162, you are the same Framber. Even in the lows, I need you to be the same Framber. And so the bottom line is this: Framber Valdez has got to have his best year, Eric. He's got to be like top 10 Cy Young, top 5 Cy Young.
Right. So a lot of people, apparently Stroman just signed with the Yankees, and a lot of people are in the chat are saying, why did the Astros not go after him? Believe it or not, the Astros have a surplus of starting pitchers, especially once we get some guys back at the around July, including McCullers and Luis Garcia. So I don't think that we're in market for a starting pitcher. It would have been nice, but they didn't need it. Billy Wagner, he is at 80.1% with 39.3% of the ballots revealed. So that means that there is a chance that he could be going to the Hall of Fame, and he could be joining as much as 3 other people, or maybe even 4 other people. So there's a lot of people voting. There's a lot of people with 10 votes this year. So that's good. So we're going to have to save the Bregman update for next time. Stroman, welcome to New York. I hope you enjoy it there. If you have bad start, they're going to boo you.
Lose.
So, guys, that's all we got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talk Astros. You can find Brett at H-Down Wheelhouse. You can find the show at Locked On Astros. We are the only daily Astros podcast out there, and we'll be here all off season for you. And once again,
Go Astros. I'm mad I didn't know you were dependent on me for that. What are you doing? Eric, you're a little rusty.